Okay. Okay, so we're going to start in a kneeling position. Oh, I'm just going to let this person in. There we go. So face the short end of your mat. If I move around my mat, it's just to help you see me a little more clearly. And the bricks can just come off to the side. Have the knees a little apart, so hip distance apart. If this is really uncomfortable on the knee joints for you, first of all, put some padding underneath the knees, but also you can raise your seat. So if you maybe had a bolster or some pillows, even kind of yoga bricks, they're a bit narrow though, can come in between the back of the lower legs and the thighs, and it just changes the angle at the knee joint. So do play around with props. So you're just going to have a sense, first of all, just focus on your foundation. So the contact of the feet, ankles, shins and knees with the earth. The crown of the head lengthens you upwards. So the spine feels active. You're not slouched, you're not rigid, you're just somewhere in between. First of all, we're just going to start by noticing our breathing. And so yoga practice is linking movement, ultimately it's linking movement with breath, which is sometimes hard to do if you're new to yoga. So breathing through the nose, and the breath is easy and slow and also low. That means that we're directing the breath towards the upper abdomen. And just start to breathe in for 4 and out for 4. And if the count of 4 doesn't work, we just want an even flow. So see the breath as a circular breath with no pause at the end of the inhalation or exhalation. It's just a lovely fluid, even breath. It might be that this 4 for you might become a 5. And just with this movement, we're not going to take the movement up the whole of the spine just yet. On the exhalation, I'd like you to gently tuck the bottom under, but without squeezing the bottom. And then as you breathe in, you're going to stick the bottom out. So as you breathe out, notice how the lower back starts to open. And as you breathe in, notice how the lower back closes. We're going to take this movement up the rest of the spine so that when you gently tuck the bottom under, just really notice the articulation of each joint. The weight will move a little backwards. And you can end up by tucking the chin in towards the chest. As you breathe in, turn the bottom backwards. The belly will start to move forwards. Encourage the chest to move upwards. And you look up. Lead with the pelvis. So you breathe out and you start to round through the spine. The hands can just gently press down on the legs. And then as you breathe in, you extend through the spine. Just noticing whether the back welcomes this full range of movement or it doesn't, knowing that you don't have to go into your full range. Now we're going to think about, as we carry on with this movement and our breath, we're going to think about our undercarriage, so the pelvic floor muscles, the space between the butt crack and the pubic bone. And especially, it's much more conducive to when we breathe out. When we're rounding through the spine, draw the pelvic floor muscles up. And then as you breathe in, there'll be more pressure within the lungs and the diaphragm, but try and keep some gentle tone. So exhaling, rounding. In inhaling, extending, but you're now focusing on that pelvic floor, offering you engagement. Just bring the spine to a neutral position. So we're going to add a flow. We're going to do it 3 times. So by the 3rd time, you might well have mastered it. Can you see me clearly, or do you want me to draw the blinds? Thumbs up if you want me to draw the blinds. No, so you can see me. Okay. I can just see a shadow when I look at you. So what I'd like you to do is relax the arms by the sides of the body. We're going to use that tuck. On the exhalation, you're going to have to draw the pelvic floor up strongly, really squeeze the bottom to lift you up to a high kneeling. As you breathe in, keep the tailbone dropping down, keep the tone through the pelvic floor, open the arms to a V shape, and breathe behind the breastbone to lift you up. On the exhalation, you're going to round through the spine. The bottom will hover above the heels. Fingertips are on the floor. There's lightness to the hands. Breathing into the back of the body. And as you breathe out, you're going to roll your weight forwards so that the shoulders are above the wrists. You're in a kneeling plank. On the inhalation, drop the hips down, but draw the belly and the chest forwards. You're in that spinal extension. And then as you breathe out, you're going to lower the body to the earth. Tuck the pubic bone under a little. As you breathe in, lengthen the heart forwards. As you breathe out, high tone through the pelvic floor to press up. Inhaling to extension, you drop the hips down, heart forwards. Exhale, tuck the bottom under, that high tone through the pelvic floor so that you can roll backwards with the bottom hovering above the earth. Hands are light. Breathing into the back of the body. And as you breathe out, coming to low kneeling. So the exhalation, next exhalation, tuck strongly under, arms float up. It brings you to high kneeling. You can soften the buttocks a bit. Inhale, lifting the breastbone up. Exhale, round the spine, the bottom hovers above the heels, the fingertips stretch forwards. Breathing into the back of the body and out the sides of the ribs. Exhale, flow yourself forward. So it's a small wave to bring the shoulders above the hips into a kneeling plank. Breathing in, drop the hips down, but stretch them forwards to extend the spine. Exhale, lower the body to the earth. Keep the tone through the pelvic floor throughout. Breathing in to lengthen, but the hands are light. Breathing out, pressing up. Inhaling to lengthen forwards as the hips drop down. Exhale, tucking under to roll back. The fingertips are light. You've got the high tone through the pelvic floor. Breathing into the back of the body and breathing out to kneeling. Settle for the inhalation, so the last round. The exhale sees you scoop up. Inhale behind the breastbone. Exhale, rounded, flexed spine. Reach the fingertips forwards. Breathing into the back of the body, but keep the tone through the pelvic floor. Roll yourself forward, so it's a little wave, a baby wave to this nice long neutral spine. On the inhalation, the spine naturally lengthens, so we use this to come into an extension. On the exhalation, there's a little gentle closing of the spine. Inhale, just a soft cobra. Exhale to press up. Inhale to do a front stretch to the body. Exhale, waving yourself back. Light fingertips, high tone through pelvic floor because the bottom is hovering. Breathing into a stuck place in the back of the body. And then as you breathe out, you're back to your kneeling position. Lovely. So, coming to an all fours position and tuck your toes under. Sorry, I just can't see my timer. There we go. And now just notice whether the heels open out to the sides. So whether they flop out to the little toe side. And if they do, draw the inner ankles towards one another. So you're giving yourself a toe stretch and a stretch of the soles of the feet. And just do a couple of rounding spines. So flexing and extending. Just so you can place the spine in a neutral position. So neutral means somewhere in the middle between this flexed spine and this extended spine. So just plant your spine somewhere in the middle. You're going to shift the weight back and just notice your hands. Now, as you're here with this nice long neutral spine, draw strongly up through the pelvic floor. So that's that undercarriage region. So imagine that you are sitting on a horse or a bolster and you're drawing up away from the bolster or the saddle. Focus on your hands, and as you breathe out, press through the hands to raise the knees. And as you breathe in, lower. So continue to do this. Keep the high tone in the pelvic floor. It is a lot of effort, but I want you to really plant the whole of the palms of the hands and the undersides of each thumb and finger to the earth. So the next time your knees are lifted, drop the heels down and lift the bottom up. And you might have to adjust yourself a little bit so that your hands may be a little further apart than your feet. Now, we're just going to do this quickly. Press the heels down towards the floor. They don't have to touch, where you lock through the back of the knees. And you might feel that this shoots you forwards in space. And also try and turn the bottom up and the bottom down. And you'll notice that there's not much movement. There might not be any movement at all. So what I'd like you to do is soften through the backs of the knees, or even put a bend in the knees. And just see whether or not the plugged hands can push you backwards in space. Do slide the shoulder blades down the back. And now rock through the pelvis and notice if you've got more movement there with the knees soft or bent. So grounded hands, but also we need some mobility in the pelvis. So do soften or bend the knees when you're in this posture. So this is dog face down. And then bring the knees to the floor. Walk the hands towards the knees, grab your bricks. So in ustrasana, it's easier to work from the ground with the toes tucked. I am just going to have to shut my blinds, sorry. The sun is very, very welcome. That's a bit better, but it's blinding me and I can't see you all. There we go. So, but this might not be comfortable for you. So it might be that you want the tops of the feet to the floor. If the ankles aren't happy, the front of the ankles, roll a blanket and place it underneath the tops of the ankles. Again, that will just support you and it might make this movement, this posture possible. So I am going to do it from tucked toes. You need your bricks or brick. We're going to go to the right side first. So if you've only got one brick, place it by the right foot. If you've got both, then you can place them one either foot. So we're going to use that big, strong tuck with the high tone through the pelvic floor. The arms float up, and we do this on an exhalation. So you come up to high kneeling. Breathe in, keep the tailbone dropping down with the tone through the pelvic floor, but lengthen upwards in space. On the exhalation, the left arm reaches up and the right arm starts to circle back. And as you breathe in, find the brick, or it might be that you find your heel and you come into half camel pose, so ardha ustrasana. Now your right hip will want to be drawn back. Draw that right hip forwards, left hip backwards. Keep the high tone through the pelvic floor. Don't think about moving backwards, but think about lengthening the abdomen and the breastbone upwards. So come back to your quiet, slow and low breath. And you can be looking forwards or up. Just do what the neck wants you to do. You're going to take an inhalation to reach up and the exhalation to bring that left arm down, and the left arm will draw you forwards. Lovely. So we're just going to do one side first. So the right side, untuck the toes. You're going to step the left foot forwards and you're going to pivot that right lower leg around 90 degrees. So we come into parighasana. So I've got right knee under right hip, left ankle under left knee. Now drop the tailbone down, just a subtle lift through the pelvic floor. It doesn't have to be really vice-like that we've done when we want to raise from low kneeling to high kneeling. The left arm just comes to the inside of that knee and it just encourages the knee back. Again, don't overly push. On the exhalation, float the right arm up. And as you breathe in, lengthening over towards that left side. Put a little grounding down through the base of your posture. Again, not a high pressure, but just really feel like you've got firm contact with the feet and the shin and the knee, so that each time you breathe in, you can lengthen yourself up, and it's not up towards the ceiling, it's over and up towards the left side. And then each exhalation, you don't ping out of it, you allow the exhalation to soften the posture. So we're really creating lots of space in this right side, but we also want to encourage space in this left side. Lovely. Turn that right palm up. Breathing in to lengthen and the arm starts to come up. And as you breathe out, you're going to stretch the right arm down and lengthen the left leg. So this is where, again, your brick is helpful. It doesn't have to be tall. You can lay it flat, kind of lessen the height, or fingertips to the floor. I prefer to be higher so that I can keep a nice open space in the underside of my body. That left arm's going to come up and over. Do think about the tailbone dropping down. So it's as though it's coming towards that left heel. A little bit of tone through the pelvic floor. Each inhalation sees you stretching diagonally, and each exhalation, tuck the bottom under. The left arm's going to draw down, so you're stretching towards the floor, and this means that the spine's going to revolve, so the chest starts to look at the earth. The inhalation sees you opening back up to the side stretch. Exhale, lead with the tucking under at the bottom, but the bottom is, or the buttocks are nice and relaxed, or as relaxed as they can be. And it's this left arm that draws the shoulder blade around. One more exhalation. Sorry, one more exhalation to round. And then inhaling to the side stretch. As this arm comes up on the exhalation, do press through the right hand to help you up. You're going to bend the left knee and you're going to pivot around. Don't kick your blocks over. And you're coming into this lunge position. So you might want blocks under your hands to stop you from collapsing on that left knee. So know that you can shift the weight forwards. If I just show you first, so when you can do this, but when you shift the weight forwards, you get a deeper stretch to the front of the right hip and the front of the right thigh. But when it comes to us raising our arms, you might find that you crunch in the lower back. So therefore, it'd be far better for you to be a bit more backwards in space so that you can drop the tailbone down. So when you lift up, you keep a more open lower back. You can always then bring the hips forwards a little until you just kind of get that sweet spot where the back feels open rather than collapsed and crunching. So whatever you choose to be, we've got the shoulders or the torso lifted. We're going to breathe in, open the arms wide so that the heart can move up. So the breath is behind the breastbone. The exhalation sees you soften. We're going to take one more inhalation. And on the exhalation, fold down, unstick the left foot, and come and rest in a little child's pose. Or any comfortable position. And then we've got to do that all to the other side. So just have your bricks nearby. So especially one brick or cookbook by your left foot or ankle. So to come up, we need to do that pelvic tilt, the high tone through the pelvic floor. The weight of the arms moving up will also help you raise up to a high kneeling position. And you're going to breathe in, lifting the breastbone up. Keep the tailbone dropping down. You've got the high tone through the pelvic floor. On the exhalation, circle the left arm back. And as you breathe in, lengthen through the right arm. Find your heel or your brick. And knowing that the toes can be tucked or the tops of the feet could be to the floor. So thinking about that left hip moving forwards, the right hip moving backwards. The inhalation to lift you up. You've got a bit of tone through the buttocks, but they're not overly clenched. But you do have the highest tone through the pelvic floor. As you breathe in, reach that right arm up towards the ceiling. So that as you exhale, the right arm comes forwards and it lifts you up. So you're going to step that right foot forwards so that you can then pivot on that left knee around. And you've kind of got the right heel, it's behind the left knee. And you're thinking right angle bends at the knee joints. So padding under that knee perhaps, brick coming out to the left side. Just notice the lower back. Try not to have the bottom sticking backwards so the belly protrudes forwards. Keep the lower back, the tailbone dropping down, just to open in the lower back, but not overly rounded. And that right arm comes to the inside of the right knee. Just gently encouraging this right hip to open. And just wait for your exhalation to float the left arm up, for the inhalation to reach across. And just feel the opening to the left side of the front of the hip, to the left side of the body, but try and keep some length through that right side. So each inhalation, you feel that you're reaching from the foundation of your posture diagonally towards the ceiling, and the exhalation is just a soft, subtle softening. So it's just the body sighing, gently recoiling with each exhalation, but the inhalation is just a little more active. You're reaching a little more with each inhalation. So your next exhale, turn the left palm up. Use the weight of the left arm to draw you up. The right leg will straighten. You might have to creep the toes forwards and you find your brick. Turn the right foot in. Right arm over. So you're in this lovely diagonal line. Grounding through the base of your posture. Tailbone lengthening towards that right heel. Each inhalation takes you back to this position. Each exhalation, tuck the bottom gently under. The right arm draws the ribs, the spine around. Reach for the floor. Breathing in, find that neutral spine in the side stretch. So this brings us into a flexed spine on the exhalation. The fingertips will be drawing the right shoulder blade around the ribs. Coming back up as you breathe in. One more exhalation. The breastbone starts to look at the floor. Inhaling here. Turning the palm up. Use the exhalation to push the left hand up. And then you're going to bend the right knee, turn the toes around. So you're in this lunge position. So again, you might have to, I'm kind of in a bit more of a splits position. I definitely don't want to be. So do change the position of the legs, and you might want to be on your tall bricks. So again, you decide whether, so this might be comfortable when you're in a low position, but it might not be comfortable when you lift up. So just know that you can come backwards in space. So to come up from the floor, drop the tailbone down, use that exhalation to lift the shoulders up and the arms up. The inhalation that follows, you lengthen the heart upwards. The exhalation is a softening. You can look forwards with the gaze, or to have more of a sense of lifting you upwards, you can look upwards, but only if the neck is happy. Your next exhalation just sees you softening. And you bring the right foot back. And we close in child. So just to counterbalance that final opening of the spine, that spinal extension, just find yourself in a rounded position and really direct the breath to the back of the body.